Champion is a Labor MP for Spence, which is the northern suburbs of Adelaide, stretching out into semi-rural and rural areas. Good morning, Nick Champion.
Good morning, David.
What do you think of this scheme?
Well, it's 40 days late. We called for a national housing stimulus plan 40 days ago, and that's because there's 450,000 jobs in residential construction that are at risk, and they were at risk before COVID-19 because the industry sector had started to slow. They're certainly at risk now because of the pandemic, and the government has been really slow to be announcing anything on housing. They've now announced, a program which I think will be a can of worms for your listeners. And, of course, doesn't invest a single dollar in social housing. And the problem is it appears that the government cares more about giving someone a new kitchen, and however much economic activity that produces. It doesn't really pass the sniff test when they're not doing anything for the essential workers who have got us through this crisis. If you're a retail worker, you don't get a look into social housing, to cheap rental or anything else under this program. And as Ron said, you have to watch it on in envy as someone else puts a new bench top in their kitchen. It does seem to be out of tune with the times that we live in.
But do you understand the argument that he's making, and that is this is not about providing social housing, because if the government spends $700,000 on, in this case, if the government spends $25,000 on social housing, it's not going to get a lot of activity out of that, and you're not going to get much of a house for $25,000. But if it offers $25,000 to middle-class people, because that's clearly what this is aimed at, people on middle incomes, it can leverage a lot more economic activity. You see what he's trying to do here, Nick?
Oh, look, I understand the leveraging aspect of it. And like I said, if this was part of a package, of course, we would sort of, accept it in the spirit in which it's given. But to have nothing in social housing, when we know you'll talk to Shelter SA later on and they'll tell you that social housing is a massive economic generator because, building companies get contracts to build whole houses and they can put that in their pipeline, and it's the pipeline of work for these housing companies that's important. It provides an important and reliable cushion because you've got government as a client. So social housing, public housing, subsidised rental for essential workers and the like, that is an important part of the building construction industry. And to exclude it from your package and simply rely on people putting in new kitchens and new back rooms seems to me to be out of tune with, the type of emergency, economic emergency that we're in, the type of health emergency we're in, and out of tune with the sort of heart and soul of Australia. I mean, people do care more about, someone getting a roof over their head than someone being able to get a new kitchen. We're not against the person getting a new kitchen, but we want to make sure that people on modest incomes, people who work very hard, get a shot at secure housing.
Yep. Well, that's Nick Champion from the federal opposition's point of view, a South Australian federal Labor MP. Nick Champion, thanks for your thoughts.